Hello, everyone. Welcome back to True Crime Files. Today, we dive into a case that shocked many and remains a haunting reminder of the dangers lurking in the digital age. This is the story of Julissa Brisman, a young woman whose life ended abruptly during what was supposed to be just another day at work. Join us as we share the details of the case with you. Imagine meeting someone online, thinking it's just a normal encounter, but it turns out to be a deadly trap. This is exactly what happened to Julissa Brisman, a young woman with a promising future, whose life was tragically cut short by someone she met through an online ad. Today, we'll explore the shocking details of the case that rocked Boston and beyond, Julissa Brisman and the man who became known as the Craigslist Killer. Julissa Brisman was born on April 24, 1983, in New York City. Growing up in a vibrant, multicultural environment, Julissa was surrounded by a loving family that emphasized the importance of hard work and ambition. Her parents, immigrants from Puerto Rico, instilled in her the values of perseverance and resilience. Despite her charm and talent, Julissa faced challenges. She struggled with alcohol abuse and had a criminal record stemming from a shoplifting incident at Macy's. She was arrested in June 2002 for stealing $3,700 in merchandise from Macy's. Cops say she falsely credited her store account for returned items and used the bogus credits to buy other things. However, Julissa did not serve any time for this. After high school, Julissa decided to pursue a career in nursing. She enrolled in a nursing program and was excited about the prospect of working in healthcare. To support herself while studying, Julissa took up work as a massage therapist. This job not only provided her with a steady income, but also allowed her the flexibility to manage her studies. Julissa began advertising on Craigslist for her massage services. Craigslist was a popular site in the early 2000s for buying and selling items, finding jobs, and offering services. It was also a place where people could connect with others, sometimes for business, and other times for more personal reasons. For Julissa, it was a way to find clients for her massage therapy services. Craigslist allowed her to reach a broader audience, and she found it to be an effective way to generate business. However, she was always cautious about her safety, aware of the potential risks involved in meeting strangers. She would typically communicate with clients via email or phone before agreeing to meet them, and she was selective about the locations where she would provide her services. Despite her precautions, Julissa couldn't have anticipated the danger that would ultimately find her. In April 2009, Julissa received a message from a new client who had found her through Craigslist. Her decision to meet the new client at the Marriott Copley Place Hotel in Boston was in line with her usual practice. She often chose well-known, upscale hotels for her appointments, believing that these locations were safer than others. The Marriott Copley Place, located in Boston's busy Back Bay area, was a popular choice for business travelers and tourists. It was a place where people came and went frequently, and Julissa likely felt that the hotel's bustling environment provided an extra layer of security. However, this sense of safety was tragically misplaced. The man who contacted Julissa that night was not just another client, but a predator who had carefully planned his attack. The events that unfolded in that hotel room would reveal a dark and twisted side of human nature that left everyone who knew Julissa reeling in disbelief. By 2009, Craigslist had become a household name, known for connecting people for everything from buying used furniture to finding jobs and services. However, the platform also had a dark side. The anonymity that Craigslist offered allowed individuals with malicious intent to operate with little fear of being caught. This anonymity was the perfect cover for a predator like Philip Markoff. Philip Markoff was born on February 12, 1986, in Sherrill, New York. From the outside, Markoff appeared to be the epitome of success. He was a high-achieving student who graduated from high school with honors and went on to attend the State University of New York at Albany. After completing his undergraduate studies, he was accepted into Boston University's School of Medicine, where he was training to become a doctor. He seemed to have a bright future ahead of him, and those who knew him described him as intelligent, personable, and driven. Markoff's personal life also seemed picture-perfect. He was engaged to Megan McAllister, a fellow medical student, and the two were planning their wedding. They had met while volunteering at a hospital in Albany and had been inseparable ever since. Their relationship appeared to be one of mutual love and respect, and they were looking forward to starting a life together. Megan was completely unaware of the dark side of Markov's personality that he kept hidden from the world. Despite his outward appearance, Markov was living a secret life. He had developed a dangerous obsession with violence and control, which he fed by using Craigslist to find women offering services such as massages or escorting. Markov would pose as a client, setting up appointments with these women in hotels where he could easily carry out his attacks. He was meticulous in his planning, choosing locations and times that would minimize the risk of getting caught. The first known attack linked to Markov occurred on April 10, 2009. He contacted Tricia Leffler, a 29-year-old escort, through Craigslist and arranged to meet her at the Westin Copley Place Hotel in Boston. When Markov arrived, he was polite and calm, but as soon as he was inside the room, his demeanor changed. He pulled out a gun, tied Leffler up with plastic zip ties, and robbed her of her money, credit cards, and personal belongings. Leffler survived the attack and reported the crime to the police, but the assailant's identity remained unknown. Just 4 days later, on April 14, 2009, Markov struck again. This time, his target was Julissa Brisman. Markov contacted Julissa through Craigslist, posing as a client interested in her massage services. They arranged to meet at the Marriott Copley Place Hotel in Boston. Markov chose this location for its anonymity and the ease with which he could blend in with the crowd. The Marriott Copley Place was one of Boston's largest and busiest hotels, located in the heart of the city's Back Bay district. The hotel's prime location made it a popular choice for visitors, and on any given day, the lobby was filled with guests checking in, heading to meetings, or simply enjoying the amenities. Markov believed that in such a bustling environment, no one would notice him or question his actions. Markov's plan was cold and calculated. He arrived at the hotel at around 10 p.m., dressed casually, wearing a baseball cap to obscure his face from the security cameras. He carried a black backpack, which contained the tools he would use during the attack: a handgun, plastic zip ties, duct tape, and a roll of twine. Markov was confident and composed as he made his way to Julissa's room, fully aware of what he was about to do. The moment Julissa opened the door to her hotel room, she was met with a man who seemed friendly and unassuming. But as soon as she let him inside, Markov's demeanor shifted. He pulled out the 9mm handgun and attempted to restrain Julissa with the zip ties. However, Julissa did not go down without a fight. She resisted fiercely, using her strength and willpower to try to fend off her attacker. The struggle quickly became violent. Markov, unprepared for Julissa's resistance, struck her in the head with the butt of his gun, causing a severe laceration. Despite the pain and the shock, Julissa continued to fight back, her survival instincts kicking in as she struggled to escape. The situation spiraled out of control, and in a moment of panic, Markov fired 3 shots at close range, hitting Julissa in the torso. The sound of gunfire echoed through the hotel hallway, alarming other guests. Some guests immediately called the front desk to report the disturbance, while others tried to figure out what was happening. Markov quickly fled the scene, taking the elevator back down to the lobby and exiting the hotel. He blended in with the crowd outside, disappearing into the night without attracting any attention. Meanwhile, hotel staff and first responders rushed to room 2056, where they found Julissa unconscious and bleeding heavily. Despite their efforts to revive her, it was too late. Julissa Brisman was pronounced dead shortly after she was found. The news of her murder spread quickly, leaving those who knew her in shock and disbelief. The brutality of the crime, combined with its occurrence in a seemingly safe and public place, heightened the sense of fear and urgency to catch the person responsible. As the investigation began, detectives immediately started gathering evidence from the crime scene. The hotel room was sealed off, and forensic experts meticulously combed through every inch of the space, looking for clues. The scene was chaotic, with blood stains on the floor and walls, broken furniture, and signs of a violent struggle. Investigators collected crucial pieces of evidence, including a spent bullet casing and the plastic zip ties Markov had brought with him. One of the most important pieces of evidence was the hotel's security footage, which captured clear images of Markov entering and leaving the building around the time of the murder. The footage showed him wearing a baseball cap and carrying a black backpack, both of which he had used to conceal his identity and carry the tools of his crime. The images were immediately circulated to law enforcement agencies, and a manhunt for the Craigslist killer began. The brutality of the crime shocked the community and the nation, sparking widespread media coverage. The fact that someone as seemingly ordinary as a medical student could commit such a heinous act was difficult for many to comprehend. The idea that a killer was using Craigslist to find and attack women added another layer of anxiety, as millions of people use the platform every day, unaware of the potential dangers lurking within. For Julissa Brisman's family, the news was devastating. They were left to grapple with the sudden and violent loss of their daughter, while the police worked tirelessly to track down the man responsible for her death. The case became a top priority for the Boston Police Department, as they sought to bring justice to Julissa and ensure that no one else would fall victim to the Craigslist killer. In the days following Julissa Brisman's murder, the Boston Police Department intensified their efforts to track down the suspect. One of the first major breakthroughs in the investigation came from the digital trail left by the killer. Investigators traced the email communications between Julissa and the person who had contacted her on Craigslist. These emails were a critical piece of evidence, as they provided a direct link between Julissa and her killer. The emails had been sent from an IP address that was eventually traced back to a prepaid cell phone. Prepaid phones are often used by criminals to avoid detection, but this time, the police were able to use it to narrow down their search. The IP address linked to the prepaid phone led investigators to an apartment complex in Quincy, Massachusetts, just a short drive from Boston. This was where Philip Markoff, a medical student with no prior criminal record, lived with his fiancée, Megan McAllister. The police were stunned by the discovery. Markoff did not fit the typical profile of a violent criminal. He was well-educated, engaged to be married, and appeared to have a bright future ahead of him. As the police delved deeper into Markoff's background, they uncovered disturbing evidence that linked him to the crime. A search of Markoff's apartment revealed a hidden stash of items that connected him to the attacks on Julissa Brisman and Tricia Leffler. Among the items found were plastic zip ties, duct tape, and a 9mm handgun, the same type of gun used in Julissa's murder. The police also discovered a collection of women's underwear, which they believed Markoff had taken as trophies from his victims. One of the most damning pieces of evidence was Julissa Brisman's blood-stained watch, which was found in Markoff's apartment. This discovery was critical in tying Markoff to the crime scene and provided the prosecution with a key piece of evidence that would be used in court. On April 20, 2009, just 6 days after Julissa's murder, the police arrested Philip Markoff as he drove with his fiancée to Foxwoods Casino in Connecticut. The arrest was a dramatic moment, with law enforcement officers swarming the car and taking Markoff into custody. The media quickly dubbed Markoff the Craigslist killer, and his case became a national sensation. As the legal process began, Markoff maintained his innocence, pleading not guilty to the charges of murder, armed robbery, and kidnapping. His fiancée, Megan McAllister, initially stood by him, shocked and disbelieving that the man she was about to marry could be capable of such horrific acts. However, as more evidence came to light, it became increasingly clear that Markoff had been leading a double life. The prosecution believed they had a solid case, with a wealth of physical evidence and eyewitness testimony linking Markoff to the crimes. However, as the case moved forward, the situation took an unexpected turn that would leave many questions unanswered. Philip Markoff was held without bail at the Nashua Street Jail in Boston as he awaited trial. The evidence against him was strong, and many believed that his conviction was all but certain. However, before the case could go to trial, a shocking event occurred that would change the course of the investigation. On August 15, 2010, just over a year after his arrest, Philip Markoff was found dead in his jail cell. He had committed suicide by cutting his wrists and ankles with a makeshift blade and wrapping his wounds in plastic bags to prevent blood from spilling. Markoff also used a pen to write his fiancée's name in blood on the wall of his cell, a final, chilling act that left many wondering about the depth of his psychological state. Markoff's suicide was a devastating blow to the Brisman family, who had been hoping for justice through a public trial. It also left the police and prosecutors with a sense of unfinished business, as Markov's death meant that many questions about the case would remain unanswered. One of the most significant unanswered questions is why Philip Markov, a seemingly successful medical student with a promising future, would engage in such violent and criminal behavior. While the evidence pointed to Markov as the Craigslist killer, his motivations remained unclear. Was he driven by a hidden psychological disorder, a deep-seated need for control, or something else entirely? Without a trial, these questions could not be fully explored, leaving room for speculation and uncertainty. Markov's death also meant that any additional victims who might have been targeted by him would never receive justice. The police continued to investigate whether Markov was involved in other unsolved crimes, but without his cooperation, these inquiries faced significant challenges. The case of Julissa Brisman remains one of the most tragic and unsettling chapters in Boston's history. While the arrest and subsequent death of Philip Markov brought some closure to the investigation, the full story behind the Craigslist killer may never be known. For the Brisman family, the loss of Julissa is a pain that continues to linger. And for the public, the case serves as a stark reminder of the dangers that can lurk behind seemingly innocuous online interactions. If you found this episode insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to True Crime Files for more in-depth explorations of unsolved cases. Join us next time as we continue to uncover the mysteries that still baffle investigators and haunt the families of the victims. Stay safe and always be aware of your surroundings.